Do you know how just 48 hours can change the destiny of an entire nation? This story begins in the heart of South Africa, where on the morning of June 26, 2025, a decision was made that not only rattled the African continent, but also sent shockwaves through international political circles. It is a story of a political leader who gave the president just 48 hours. And if you think this was just an ordinary political statement, you are mistaken. What followed this ultimatum pushed South Africa's government of national unity into a crisis that the whole world could hear echoes of. John Steenhuisen, leader of the Democratic Alliance, openly challenged President Cyril Ramaphosa, declaring that if he did not dismiss corrupt ministers within 48 hours, there would be serious consequences. But this was not just another empty threat. The ultimatum came right after President Ramaphosa suddenly removed Democratic Alliance Deputy Minister Andrew Whitfield from his position in the Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Competition. The decision was so abrupt that Whitfield himself did not know why he had been dismissed. Steenhuisen immediately denounced the move as unjust, saying that if Ramaphosa was truly serious about fighting corruption, he should first remove ANC ministers implicated in corruption cases, including Justice Minister Thembi Simelane, Higher Education Minister Nabil Ngabane, and former State Security Minister David Malobo. This marked the beginning of the greatest crisis for South Africa's government of national unity, which had been formed after the May 2024 elections and brought together 10 different political parties. This coalition was seen as a historic success because, for the first time in its history, the ANC failed to win majority and was forced to partner with other parties, the largest of which was the Democratic Alliance. But now this partnership was under threat because Steenhuisen's ultimatum was not just rhetoric. It was a political reality. If Ramaphosa failed to dismiss the corrupt ministers, the Democratic Alliance could walk out of the coalition, plunging South Africa back into political instability. During those 48 hours, the entire world was watching South Africa, especially the West and the United States. Because of its strategic location, rich natural resources, and continental influence, South Africa plays a critical role. Any political instability there could ripple not only through the region, but also across global markets. When the 48-hour deadline expired, Ramaphosa's response made the story even more dramatic. He declared that no one could issue him an ultimatum and flatly refused to make cabinet changes under pressure. On June 28, 2025, the Democratic Alliance announced a press briefing to outline its next steps. Across the country, people were wondering, would the unity government collapse? To understand the gravity of this moment, one must understand how deeply entrenched corruption is in South Africa. During decades of ANC rule, especially under Jacob Zuma, state corruption grew to such an extent that it became known as state capture, where powerful business families effectively controlled the government. When Ramaphosa came to power in 2018, he promised to fight corruption, but by 2025, many ministers and senior officials still face allegations, with some even in court. Justice Minister Thembi Simelane was accused of taking bribes in the VBS bank scandal, while Ngabane and Malobo also faced corruption charges. These were exactly the ministers the Democratic Alliance wanted removed. Yet the crisis was more complex. The ANC itself is divided, and Ramaphosa must balance competing factions within his party, some of which include the very ministers accused of corruption. On top of this, the unity government is less than a year old and is riddled with ideological differences. The Democratic Alliance, which largely represents white and mixed-race voters, advocates free market economics and limited government intervention, while the ANC, backed mainly by the black majority, supports social welfare and state involvement. These opposing ideologies constantly create friction, and the corruption issue has only sharpened the divide. Internationally, the stakes are equally high. South Africa is a key player in the African Union and a member of BRICS, alongside Brazil, Russia, India, and China, a bloc seen as challenging Western economic dominance. Instability in South Africa could weaken BRICS and hurt Africa's overall economic progress. The U.S. and European Union, both major trade partners, do not want instability, especially as Russian and Chinese influence continues to expand across Africa. The ultimatum exposed just how fragile the unity government is, and how a single decision can shake an entire system. On June 28th, during its press briefing, the Democratic Alliance clarified that it would not leave the unity government yet. However, it warned that without real action against corruption, it would reconsider its options. It was diplomatic language, but the message was clear. The DA's patience was running out. Meanwhile, tensions rose within the ANC. Some argued that the DA was being given too much importance, while others insisted that compromises must be made to preserve the coalition. What makes this episode particularly significant is that it is not limited to South African politics alone. Its ripple effects extend worldwide, as South Africa is the world's largest platinum producer and home to vast reserves of gold, diamonds, and other precious resources. Any instability there can disrupt global commodity markets. As of September 2025, the unity government still survives, but it is running on tension. Any new conflict could throw it back into crisis. The 48-hour ultimatum may have expired, but the political message it delivered remains clear. No single party in South Africa holds absolute power anymore, and compromise is the only way forward. On the one hand, this is healthy for democracy. On the other, it makes governance more difficult. The lesson from this story is simple yet profound. In today's world, no country, no matter how powerful, can remain isolated. Every nation's internal politics affect the rest of the globe. And South Africa's 48-hour ultimatum is living proof that even the smallest political decision can shake the world.